Boston sits atop right now. Get your thoughts out, Reek, because Boston looked pretty good. They've only picked up their first loss just a night ago, but Boston have definitely looked like one of the best teams out of the gate.
Yeah, Minnesota's damn good. That putting them at 10th was already just a horrendous take. So, but yeah, I mean, even in that game, man, Boston looked really good. Derek White missed the last couple of games, but the defense from the jump has looked very good. Just like the versatility, the different lineup formations that you can run, like it's looked great. And I think the offense has looked a lot better than what I anticipated, given that you're adding a couple new viable pieces and you lost some guys in the offseason too. So it's like, and with the bench struggles, which I'll get to, but the offense look pretty good, man. Like Kristaps and Drew already have like very good chemistry for guys that just got there this past offseason. Drew within like the last month or so. So, the offenses look good. Tatum just continues to ascend. Like he looks like a even better offensive player than he was a year ago. Just like his decision making. I've loved him like finishing at the basket. I feel like you can tell he put on some muscle in the offseason. I think they said 12 pounds of muscle he put on. You can tell he looks a lot stronger. He's not really getting knocked off balance too easily. He's looked great. His shot diet has looked a lot better too. Taking a lot more mid-post shots. I love seeing that from him. Jaylen Brown's looked good too. I think his decision-making has looked a lot better. Like last night's game, he made like 3 or 4 just like exceptional passes, which he probably wasn't making, in the playoffs last year. Like he looks a lot better. My only concern really is the bench has just been. I mean, Al Horford's going to come in. He's going to do what he does, but there's no pop off of that bench. Peyton Pritchard has looked terrible. Even though he has some productive like minutes, like as far as getting some steals, offensive rebounds last night, he's looked bad. O'Shea Brissett minutes haven't been consistent, even though when he's played, he's looked pretty all right. Luke Cornett's been okay off the bench when he's been asked to play, but it's like there's no pop off that bench, which you would like to see at least one guy, especially maybe the guy that you just gave an extension to provide some of that, but hasn't been there. I think Pritchard will get better as time goes on because he's been like really bad right now. But through 6 games, slightly concerned. But outside of that, Mazzulla already looks a little more comfortable as a coach. He made like an amazing challenge last night, which ended up being like a 6-point swing when it was all said and done. Like he looks a lot more comfortable. He's using his timeouts more. I love to see that. So year 2 for him is going well. But overall, Boston's look great. I couldn't be happier with like the first 6 games, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this was a lot of really what was to be expected from this team. Like we were talking before the season, we're like, yeah, that top 6, one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. But outside of that, yeah, a lot of questionable stuff. Some people expected that Pritchard jump and maybe some other people to really take a little bit of a step and really make a spot for themselves in the rotation there. But we're definitely still waiting on that. And I don't think we expected that to be resolved here in the first like 5, 6, 7 games of the year. So still something that, like we're saying, it's still early in the season, something that we can really hold out on and see who really begins to carve out that niche for themselves. Because if Pritchard's supposed to be that guy, we ain't seen it yet. Really, it looks like so far the best guy off the bench for them might be Sam Hauser, which makes some sense because, he was sort of in and out of the rotation in their playoff runs the past couple of years. So, maybe we should have seen that coming since he's been in and around throughout this Joe Mazzulla thing. But as far as those top 6, there's a reason they didn't lose until last night. Like the impact of Porzingis has been just great. I love what he has done. There's a lot of nights where he looks like the second best player on the team. And it's not even a slight to Jaylen Brown, more so than it is just praise to how good Porzingis has been. And then the fact that this team, we're talking about, the Bucks don't really have any great guard defenders, and the Celtics might have one of the best starting defensive backcourts in basketball with Drew Holiday and Derek White next to each other. There's really not much better you can get. And if you look at the 29 other teams, you might be hard-pressed to find a better defensive backcourt than that. So from that perspective, it's like when they get into the playoffs, that's a matchup nightmare for every opposing team's guards and wings. And that's something you really, really look forward to seeing it. Then it's not like they're terrible from the defensive perspective, from the big man perspective either, because it's like Al Horford, we know he can come in and still be impactful as a paint protector. Porzingis, he could, like, just by virtue of being 7'3", he's going to protect the rim pretty well, whether he's playing good overall or not. So it's like there's so much to like here out of their top guys, and it's really just carving out the rest of that rotation, finding one or two more guys that can really contribute on a consistent basis for them, so they like really have things set, and they're not out there playing their main guys like 44 minutes a game in the postseason.
Yeah, that's really the only concern at this point because, like you said, the top six is great, the defense is great. You mentioned the guards, you mentioned Kristaps, and even from the wing standpoint, I mean, Tatum and JB are one of the best defensive wing duos in the league as well. They got everything you could want there. You can pretty much switch 1 through 4 whatever you want. Kristaps, depending on the matchup, you can somewhat get away with switching things if you really want to. Like, there's just so much versatility and so much talent on that defense. Throw that in with the fact that now you have so much more spacing with Kristaps being out there. Not that Horford was a bad shooter in his own right, but of course, any lineups that had Al or Robert Williams both on the court was going to have a little bit more limited spacing. So they're just in a great spot now with that amount of spacing on the floor. It really just opens so much more up for that offense. The driving lanes are great. And of course, me and Gabe as Raptors fans are just very much in witnessing the contrary of that. So like that spacing is so valuable. There's been a few teams across the league this year. Pistons fans probably feel the same way. There's a lot of non-shooters out there. The Celtics have got the opposite of that. The other thing I want to show, when you mentioned Jason Tatum earlier, Reek, putting on a bit of weight. Another thing is the shot selection he's had this year as well. A lot more mid-ranges. This is his shot chart from last year, and this is his shot chart from this year. A lot more spread out, a lot more getting to the rim, getting some mid-range shots, not just everything at the three-point line and then occasionally getting to the rim. It's been a lot more diverse from him, a lot more of what we were looking for in the postseason last year, where it was like there was no mid-range game. It was a lot of threes, a lot of difficult threes, and now it looks like he's getting into the rim a bit more. He's more comfortable there. He's getting and taking the looks that he gets in the mid-range, and he has that. Like, he has the ability to hit those, and he's showing that. It's just nice to see that he's taking those now, that those are becoming more of a part of his game than they were over the last couple of years, because it's not completely new. He's shown us that he can do that in the past. He's just had a tendency at times to pull away from it and get comfortable staying at the three-point line. He's best when he can have that be a part of his game, but not be the majority of his offensive game. And we're starting to see a little bit of that more now too. So like what I see a lot from Boston, like we say, from that top six. We'll just see what we can get from a potential 7th or 8th guy. They probably really only need one other guy. As long as they can have a 6th and a 7th come postseason, they're going to be okay. They just need at least one more guy to be a consistent rotational piece. Who that is, anyone's guess at this point, because no one's really showed it.
Yeah. Shout out Sam Cassell. Shout out Paul Pierce working with Tatum in the offseason. But he started last season kind of the same way, like not really settling for threes as much. And then he got away from it. So hopefully it's not just like he's tricking us again. Hopefully he continues this, because it's refreshing seeing him just open up his offensive bag and just not settle for the three. Play that, like, I guess James Harden type, like three or at the rim. Like, switch it up a little bit. Get to the free throw line, at a pretty good rate too. Yeah, it's crazy how like Denver just keeps getting away with finding guys that become good rotation players. Payne Watson, Reggie Jackson looks decent again. Like,
yeah,
maybe it's Jokic just being as good as he is, but they just keep getting away with this shit. And it's like Boston, like you said, Boston just needs like one guy, just one more guy off of that bench, and they'll be fine. But Denver just, they just find ways to get multiple guys coming off that bench and looking good. So, I hope Pritchard can step it up. I like Brissett minutes. Like in the Miami game, he played really well. I would like to see him just get more consistent run, especially as a wing. Like, you can throw him in with different lineups. It's not really matchup based. Just why not? I mean, especially at this point in the season, you're kind of experimenting anyways when you have pretty much an entire new second unit. Like, you got to figure out which guys you can trust from a night in, night out basis anyways. Like, we already talked about this when they made the Drew Holiday trade. Like, they're going to have to figure out who those guys are off that bench. So, hopefully they just can consistently give a couple guys some opportunity. Maybe, like Gabe said, Sam Hauser's that guy. He seems to be consistently off the bench, get opportunities. Maybe he is just going to be that guy. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think they're like a wing away with it. And if O'Shea Brissett can be that guy, I think that'd be really good for them, because they wouldn't have to go out and like give up any assets or be just searching for a guy. It could just be a guy in-house that has the full season to really learn and progress the chemistry with these guys. But yeah, I mean, if they just stagger like Derek Williams and Drew Holiday, or Derek White, and I don't know how that name came out, but Derek White and Drew Holiday, yeah, I mean they should be fine from the point guard position. And then the fact that JB and JT can really play that like 2 through 4 almost, like JB can be 2, 3, 3. It raises that flexibility. And then even the fact that you can play like Porzingis and Al Horford minutes together and it's fine. It really just opens up the fact that they don't really need like some strict certain position, but just a guy like O'Shea that you could probably throw in at like a 2, a 3, and a couple different places. That's really the only thing they need at that point. They're built in a way where they don't have some like specific need where it's like, yeah, we need a guy that's gonna do this. They need a body that they can throw out there and isn't gonna be a liability on either side.
Exactly.
Let's hope they can find it. It's a trade, they got a few seconds they can move. Whether it's one of these guys figuring it out, hopefully they get something. Biggest thing with O'Shea, shooting 14% from 3 this year. Hopefully that goes up. He can shoot around 32, 33%. He's a rotational guy. The problem is he hasn't been consistently doing that throughout his career. He didn't do it in Toronto. They got rid of him. Did it for a couple of years in Indiana. It was a regular rotational piece. Didn't do it last year in Indiana. Fell out of the rotation. So that's kind of been the story for O'Shea. Because you know he's going to be a decent rebounder. You know he's going to work on the defensive end. And that's what they're just looking for now is the shooting. And complete opposite with Sam Hauser. You know you're going to get the shooting, but what else are you getting? So they got a bit of a mismatch there between their wings, and hopefully Pritchard gives them something more too. But it just needs someone that can hopefully round out a little bit more to give them something. But